You abolished the diaper tax.
The thing is, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. Every single one is different. Right?
When you're the dean of the School of Communications at Quinnipiac University
because it's allowed me to understand education.
Started traveling the country, just training people to understand these disabilities.
That was one of the reasons why I brought you on to discuss that.
Monday night, 8 p.m. EST.
Welcome to this week's edition of Pamela Roth Live. It is Monday night, December 19th, 2022, and we are just days away from Christmas and days away from 2023, ringing in a new year. And for everybody who's celebrating, happy Hanukkah. So tonight's guest is Janice Imbrogno, a wonderful woman, mother, homemaker, and very innovative with a product and her products and oils and her company that she created called Home, Health, and Spirit. So please welcome Janice Imbrogno.
Hi, thank you very much, Pamela. Thanks.
Hi, it is such a pleasure to see you and speak with you. How are you doing?
I'm good. And how about you?
Good, thank you. You're running around last minute crazy shopping, because it always seems like you never have enough gifts for everybody, and it seems like you always forget somebody.
Right. Well, so I'll talk about how you can use some essential oils to deal with all that craziness and create some calm. So we'll get into that.
Perfect, because I know you have all these oils, essential oils, and as you were telling me earlier, they can be used for many purposes, and one of which would be calming. I need something right now to keep me calm with all this, the holidays and the relatives. And, it's funny because when you have holiday parties, you always have to wonder and think who's fighting and arguing with whom, and who are you inviting and who are you excluding?
Right.
Just to keep the peace.
Yes.
So please tell us about yourself, because you have a fascinating background.
All right. So my background is in home economics, and my whole focus is to help families be comfortable and happy and feel good and at ease in their homes. So home economics is a little bit of an old-fashioned term. That's what my major was in college, and that's who I've been, my whole life. I've loved everything about home and family and health. So over the years, our profession has changed its name, and now it's called Family and Consumer Sciences, because we have a big consumer aspect and we are focused on the family. But I love my old-fashioned term home economics, so I still use it. In addition, I found something that blended so well with my focus on comfortableness and health of the family, and that's essential oils. And I was a teacher for 35 years. I am a mom of 3. I still teach. I do a lot of presentations now, so I'm still teaching, but I'm not teaching in a high school. And I work with essential oils. And essential oils are just like the icing on the cake. It's what brings everything together. They can be used to keep the family happy and healthy, less stressed. And we can get into some specifics about that. And then I have 3 children. My oldest son is high functioning with autism. He's 27. I have a son who's almost 25 and a daughter who's 22. They're all I never force this on them, but they all are so into the oils and healthy living also. So I think that's, a nice testament to how they work, because the kids see for themselves that they work.
When you talk about home economics, I remember when I was in high school, we had home economics as a course in school. But back then it was like the basics. It was course only for the girls. And it was the basics. It was learning how to cook, learning how to sew. We were sewing with patterns and we had sewing machines. But that was home economics back then. It's nice to see that home economics, or like you said, like what is it now called? Home sciences or family sciences?
Family and Consumer Sciences.
But it's nice now that it's actually more encompassing outside of just being in the kitchen, because, everybody looks to bring in candles to their homes, scented candles, for calm. I know that's what I use, but I've also seen in Brooklyn, there are some stores that are Arabic owned, and it's all types of oils and scents. And I remember going in there many years ago, and I just find it fascinating because you'd have everything from maybe like eucalyptus oil, all natural, different types of oils, vanilla, and you're smelling it, or you can actually buy it for your home. And they were like these little diffusers that you could put a little bit of the oil in and light something from underneath, like a candle or something, and then the warmth would actually cause the fragrance from those oils to disseminate throughout the room. And that was my only experience with different oils. So I'm waiting to hear from you about how it could be used orally and topically and in any other manner, because it's nice now to have something natural in the home as opposed to bringing in so many chemicals.
Okay, great. So there's so much that we could talk about. So first, you mentioned the fragrant candles, and that's one reason why essential oils are such a great substitute, because fragrant candles and plug-ins and wax melts and those type of things, even fabric softeners and typical cleaners that people buy, are
Mhm.
highly fragranced and they're very toxic. So the typical fragrant candles could have a lead wick, usually are made from paraffin, which is petroleum. And when you burn them in a jar, there's a black soot around the edge of the glass. So you're just breathing that in. Then the danger with the fragrance is, I mentioned in home economics, we're very big on consumerism. So as a consumer, the most important thing is to read the label and know what ingredients are in the products that you buy. But the problem with fragrance is that the government protects manufacturers and they do not have to disclose what is in their fragrance. So it could be phthalates and toluene and benzene and aldehyde, cancer-causing chemicals, tumor-inducing chemicals, asthma-irritating chemicals, skin. I mean, you could go on and on. It could be all these horrible chemicals. And as a consumer, you don't have the right to know what it is because the government just says they can write fragrance. They can even write natural fragrance. And that's like a story in itself. I don't want to go too off topic, but I just want to tell you that natural fragrance and natural flavors can be some disgusting things from bugs and animals that you don't even want to like get into right now, but it's natural. So
Oh,
anyway, essential oils. I use a diffuser. I have one right here. I have many different decorative diffusers, and you put the oil in here with some water, and a mist comes out. And it is a great alternative to naturally putting fragrance in the air in your home. In
but
fact, so many, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but isn't that also safer? Because of course, you hear so many times of homes catching fire because of unattended candles in a room. So
Ab-
this
Absolutely.
is much safer.
Right. That's right. And for those people who love candles, and I do love candles, so I just want to say, as long as you're not vegan, a beeswax candle would be my recommendation, and there's no fragrance. But of course, you have to be careful with Oh, okay, and, yeah, like, I don't know if I can mention that Anthony just mentioned, like, some college students aren't even allowed to have candles, and Anthony said I can. So our producer just said in the chat that at his university, they're allowed diffusers, but they're not allowed candles, and especially when you have children. But there's even more benefits to the diffuser, and then I'll tell you a couple of different types of diffusers. But the other benefit is if you put a pure essential oil in it, many essential oils are naturally antimicrobial. So not only are you getting a pleasant fragrance, but you're purifying the air. And anybody who's listening who feels along the lines that I do me a favor and search the dangers of Febreze, or the dangers of any of these chemicals, Lysol or any of that, because you'll see that those just cover up odor causing molecules and they have a lot of dangerous ingredients. But essential oils don't cover it up. Essential oils are antimicrobial. So if it's a bacteria or a yeast or a fungus causing a mold, causing the odor, the essential oil can work on it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I
So,
know if you remember during the time of when COVID-19 first came out,
Mhm.
and they were telling everybody, just basically we're supposed to spray ourselves and spray everything with oh, you just met with Lysol. You're supposed to disinfect everything. And I just remember they would just be walking into my house with a cloud of Lysol, and it gets inside your mouth and your throat, and you're just ingesting and inhaling all these chemicals.
That's right. And I'm going to give you an alternative, but I just want to like just stick in here. Of course, everybody who's listening knows I'm not a medical professional, and I'm going to share all these great ideas that worked for me and my family. But everybody has to do their research, and I'm not giving medical advice. But I never used any of that, and I want to mention if anybody who's listening has Clorox wipes in your home, go read the label in the back. It clearly says hazards to humans and domestic animals right
Mm.
on the back of the wipes. It might say that on the Lysol wipes too. So, what I did during that time is the CDC said they wanted 70% alcohol. So, I went to the liquor store, and I don't drink, but I went to the liquor store and I asked for grain alcohol, GRAIN. It's 190 proof, which means it's 95% alcohol. That was my disinfectant. I put it in a spray bottle. I added some orange essential oil, smelt great. Nothing's perfect.
Mm.
I think it's better. It's not perfect because it is alcohol, it is flammable. And of course, if you have children or pets, you want to be careful. But for me, that was a much healthier alternative to disinfect. And then I use natural cleaners and that type of thing. But yes, essential oils can play such a great part in substituting for the toxic things. One of the things I'm famous for saying whenever I teach is just because something is sold on a store shelf does not mean it's safe. I'm telling you, nobody's really, really checking it. And being located in a store does not mean it's safe or healthy or health promoting for you and your family.
No, it's just another product that made its way onto the shelf to the consumer.
Right.
Which,
Right.
like you were explaining before, as far as a lot of these products, may not be healthy, but they're sold, and the government allows it because you just have either a brand name on it, or it's just a very vague description. Like when you said natural oils, or natural scents or natural flavors, without actually knowing what that is, right away people think with the word natural, oh, if it's natural, it's got to be healthy and safe because it says natural, but they're not really telling you, like you said, what's actually in it.
Right.
And it's fooling the consumer, it's fooling the public.
Absolutely. It's very deceptive.
Mhm.
And I'll give you just a really, really brief history. In 1976, they passed a Toxic Product Control Act or Labeling Act, something like that. And they banned a few hundred chemicals, really a small amount, but they grandfathered in thousands and thousands and thousands of chemicals that were harmful and that were already in use. And then in 2016, they tried to improve the act, but nobody's regulating it. And they might say, you might say, oh, the EPA or the FDA, but are they really going to these big box stores and really pulling things off the shelves? You do
No.
see some recalls. You see some,
Mhm.
but if you were to do some research on the ingredients that are in these things, they're hormone disruptors, so they're endocrine disruptors. They can harm your thyroid, your reproductive system, all your different glands. They
Cancer,
can, excuse me?
they could also be cancer causing.
Oh, absolutely, and there's so many, like, even the fragrant candles throw off chemicals that are shown in lab animals to produce, kidney and bladder tumors. And, there's that serious side, and then it's just the hacking cough that someone gets, the watery eyes, the brain fog, the headache, and sometimes you don't connect it, but if you were to clean everything out of your house and go with just pure things, you'll see how much better you could feel. And sometimes there's a disconnect and people don't use it and they don't think of it because that's all we see in the stores. And maybe it's what we grew up with. Maybe it's not what our grandmothers and great grandmothers used, but but it's probably what we grew up with, so we brought it into our own homes, and it's really just about profit. And even with essential oils, there's really no regulation. People throw labels around: therapeutic, organic, this, that, and I'd like to know who's really checking it.
It
It's
all
not
it all
happening.
goes to misrepresentation.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really And that's where a lot of attorneys come in. As you know, I'm an attorney as well. But this is what happens when you have products that are mislabeled, and it's not until somebody in the public is hurt that there's research that's being done and looking into the products as far as taking those products off the shelf after years of research, as long as there's a causal connection between the injury or the cancer and the product.
That's right. That's right. And I want to add one other misleading thing, and it's called greenwashing. So a lot of times you hear, well, I don't want to say too many companies, but you hear these natural companies and you say, oh, I'll buy this one. It's natural. But I want you to know that I'll just say all those companies that you think might be little mom and pop, like Mrs. Myers or Seventh Generation or any of those, look who owns them. It's probably the Clorox Corporation or SC Johnson, Unilever, Johnson and Johnson. These little companies that started out as natural, uh, all ingredient kind of things are owned by big companies. And if you look up on the ratings on different rating sites and apps, they're not as pure as you may think that they are. So the best thing to do is always be your own consumer and do your due diligence, and you're the gatekeeper of your home, so know what you're bringing in. I think that's really the message. It might be fine. I'm not saying everything labeled naturally is bad, but there's a lot that's misrepresented. I'll just say like one more thing, like the Clorox wipes, that's so marketed to classrooms and to teachers, but people don't read the ingredients and know that you have to wash your hands after you use it. And it's not a cleaner, it's a disinfecting wipe. And there's a difference between cleaning and disinfecting. And if you don't wipe the dirt and grime off your surfaces, the disinfectant is not going to work as it was intended to work. So there's just so much, I guess everybody just needs to take a little time and educate themselves, because it's your family
It's
and
your
your
you're bringing something into your home and exposing your family to it. So
Mhm.
read the labels and do some research, because right now with Google, we're able to do all this research that back in the days our parents and our grandparents certainly didn't do. So, whatever the commercial showed, of course, target audience as a consumer, like, oh, well, they wouldn't be putting it out there if it was going to hurt us. So let's buy it and bring it home.
Yeah. Again, it's a little off topic, but this is a classic example that I learned many, many years ago about advertising. There was a commercial, I think it was Skippy peanut butter, and they came out and they said, our peanut butter has no cholesterol. Buy our peanut butter. But no peanut butter has cholesterol. It comes from peanuts. Cholesterol comes from animal products. So it was so misleading. And I think that was like when I was a teenager or in college. It's just one example of how they just mess with your mind, and just be aware. That's what I want to tell everybody. Be aware, be informed, and this is so important for your family. Again, I want to say it again, you're the gatekeeper. You're allowing what's in your home, and your home can be a beautiful, clear, healthy place with fresh, pure air to breathe, or you can have it tainted with chemicals.
Which we don't want, or we're going
Right,
to try to avoid that as much as possible. So tell
right.
us about, because I know, like you mentioned, that your son has autism. How has these oils that you use, these natural oils, how has that helped him?
Well, it helped in a lot of ways. So it's not a miracle drug. It's not a drug. It's not something like this, but it does help him with anxiety and stress. And I happen to have some videos on YouTube about my son James and I using the oils. So one of the things we do is alternate nostril breathing with essential oils. So if he's stressed or agitated, sometimes he'll go like this with his hands, or he'll clap his hands. That's like his sensory way of dealing with what's building up in him. So alternate nostril breathing works great on its own, and that's there's a video on it, but it's holding one nostril, breathing in the other. And then we use frankincense and valor essential oils when we do that.
Mhm.
And it's very, very calming and settling. Number one, it's a distraction. So for anybody, and you don't have to have autism, I do this. Anybody can do it. With his needs, I found it particularly helpful for him. But just the fact that you're working on alternate nostril breathing and switching the oils and breathing them in, you're forgetting that mind that's chattering like that, and so it distracts him. But these two oils, frankincense is um, backwards. Frankincense is a very high vibrational oil, and it's a spiritual oil. It's in the Bible. Everyone knows that. And then valor is a very grounding oil. So you have a high frequency and a low frequency, and your alternate nostril breathing, and it's just very, very, very balancing. So
Now,
that's one
all right,
thing I do with him.
how did you learn that those two work together in a balance when
Oh,
you're working with your son?
I have wonderful training. I use Young Living essential oils, and I have somebody above me in the organization that taught me about frankincense and valor. And I've gotten so much wonderful education from the people in my group. So I learned it from her. I learned it from her. And then I had a yoga teacher years ago that had taught me alternate nostril breathing anyway. And I see Anthony showing, that's the video on YouTube of my son James doing the alternate nostril breathing. I'm going to tell you a couple of other ways the oils help him, but I do want to mention that my son lives in a group home, and he comes home. I always feel bad saying that, but it's the best placement for him. But he spends about 5 to 7 days home every month. But when he's there, his group home staff has been very cooperative to learn all about essential oils. And he does this when he's there too. So even when he's not with me, it's very helpful.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I could tell you some other things that we do.
While
His
we're on the subject of YouTube, please tell everybody what your YouTube channel is so that people can tune in to watch what it is that you do with these essential oils and with your son.
Okay. And Anthony is showing some videos from my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Home, Health, and Spirit. So I will just say again, having that teacher background, I really feel like I'm an educator. So there's a lot of educational videos on the YouTube, and I try to teach people things on Instagram also, and I'm on Facebook. So everything is Home, Health, and Spirit, and the word "and" is spelled out.
Now, again, how did you come up with that title, Home, Health, and Spirit?
So it was an interesting story. After I had retired from teaching high school, I was laid up for a little bit with a foot surgery, and I wanted to do something with my home economics background. So I decided to create a Facebook page, and I named it Home Health and Spirit. Home because I'm very focused on everything to do with the home and home economics. Health because I'm into natural living and helping people live and be healthy without chemicals, and spirit because I have the spirituality. I'm very spiritual, and I have that. So I named it Home Health and Spirit. And what I realized was that I was posting on this Facebook page that I made up, and it seemed like all the posts were about essential oils because by that time I had incorporated them so much in my life that I focused the Facebook page, and then it went on to Instagram and YouTube. And I also have a website with blog articles, and my website is also homehealthandspirit.com. So that's how it all came about.
So now for people to follow you, they can follow you on Facebook as Home, Health, and Spirit.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then on Instagram, it's Home, Health, and Spirit.
That's correct.
Now, all these items that, and thank you, Anthony. Anthony's our producer. Anthony, excuse me, Janice. All the video right now that Anthony is showing of you with these different diffusers. Now, I see different shapes and sizes, and of course, they're really cute with the owls. If anyone's interested in purchasing these, how would they do that? Through your website?
Yes, if you go to my website, there's a link, and a lot of the blog articles individually have link, but on the landing page, there's also a link. And usually under the description on my YouTube videos, I have a link. And basically, it's the Young Living website, youngliving.com. And I have a sponsor number, which is 2330446. But any of the links take you right there, because if you would like to get anything and you order with me, then I send people out information and I help them. And then I have a private Facebook group for those people who are in my Young Living group. So, yes, that's the website, and there's a link right there. You could click on that picture that Anthony's showing, or the link, and yeah, and then you're part of my private Facebook group, and we do even more education.
This is wonderful because I see pomegranate seeds, and I first of all, I love pomegranates. I eat them as often as possible. I drink the juice. Is that actually pomegranate oil?
It's not, but it's an interesting story. The very first blog I wrote was about pomegranates, and I had a wonderful website developer, and she asked me to pick a picture, and I came upon that because the pomegranates, it's just really interesting that my birthday is June 13th, and my father's lucky number was always 613, and there's 613 seeds in a pomegranate.
Yes.
And I found the picture that had oil. The bowl represented home to me. The oil was the essential oils, and the pomegranates were spiritual to me, because there's also something, I forgot the exact, but there was some Hebrew connection
Oh, I can
to
tell
an
you.
yeah, and it's in the first blog article, so that even though, like, I have Christian beliefs, I feel like a strong connection to the Hebrew basis of Christianity, and like it was home, health, and spirit. So that's how my first article was called Pomegranate 613, and it just tells that story in it. It's pretty
Because
interesting.
that's what just I noticed from that photo. Well, first of all, as you know, pomegranates have been around since the beginning of time, since the beginning of the Bible. And in Judaism, pomegranates are very symbolic because, as you said, there's 613 seeds, and that actually corresponds to 613 mitzvot, the good deeds that we're supposed to do. So at Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, it's very symbolic that we have pomegranates, and we slice the pomegranates and we eat them. So
And
so
that was
very
that was my spiritual. So that picture was home, health, and spirit.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, very interesting. So I just picked
Yeah.
up on
And that's my birthday. So I'm like, that's it, you know?
there's the
So
connection.
yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful. You know, I was wondering too, not to get off topic, but I'm just curious about this because nowadays I'm just wondering, what are your demographics with all these essential and natural oils? Is because I'm wondering if more younger people, I won't say teens, maybe teens, 20s and older, in that range, if they're getting more into, natural oils for the home because they're more into watching what it is that they eat, being more natural as opposed to chemicals. People are into yoga, they're into working out. And I'm just wondering, I see, between the different types of oil, bringing it into your home, eating more natural, having more of a well-balanced health, wellness, and home. Have you seen that? Or is there a certain other age group, maybe middle age and older, who like the oils?
Well, I see both. I see a lot of people in my age group, moms. I think my age group, older moms, I see people who become new moms, then all of a sudden they want to get all the chemicals out of their house. And then my other son and my daughter and their friends. And I know, just like my son's girlfriend, my daughter's boyfriend, they've been around the house, and that they use it now, but they need to see it more. I think the younger group, once they see, oh, and Anthony, of course, and my producer Anthony, yes, he loves it, and his mom, and yes, and I didn't see what he said, but yeah, um, yeah, I think Anthony got into it because he came to film for me, and then he saw it. So I think it's when people see it in action, and see what it can do, but it's a hard sell if people don't see it personally or they don't know someone. But I'll give somebody something to try, and they're usually hooked.
Well, the interesting thing is, I know, because even now I feel congested. I know I have a lot of times get very stuffy nose, congested and all. And then, they always told us to use the Vicks inhaler or anything like that. And
Mhm.
I was just, again, I try to stay away from a lot of chemicals. I try not to take any different types of medications if I don't have to, and if I'm stressed out, I'll light a candle, for instance. So
Right.
one time I was actually in one of these, like I told you, like Arabic stores that they have down in Brooklyn that have all these oils, and then you can create your own perfumes, for instance. So I ended up buying eucalyptus oil. Uh,
Okay.
so a little bottle of I think it was mint or like a menthol type of oil. And I put a dab with a Q-tip under each nostril. And
Mhm.
I found it opens up my sinus so much better than using, say, that little stick from Vicks or Vicks Vapor Rub, because I was still getting the same feeling where I could breathe. I've also bought peppermint oil for the same reason. I'll put a dab under each nostril, and
Mhm.
just the wine opens up my head. So are those the types of oils that you have? I'm sure there must be so many types of oils and fragrances.
Yes. So, the reason I use Young Living, I did a lot of research, and Young Living owns their farms, or they partner, or they're like running their farms. So there's no pesticides in the Young Living oils. So that's why I use them. And I'll talk about opening up the sinuses in just a moment. But I use them because other companies, if you're buying off the shelves in the store, 99%, they have some kind of chemical solvent, they have fragrance, they have pesticides. So you want to buy from a company that is not using pesticides. So that's really, really, really important. Um, and then I was going to say something else. But anyway, so that's why I use the Young Living. Now I do what you do with the peppermint. This really does open up the sinuses, and you can just put a drop or two in your hand like that. You can breathe it from the bottle if you want, and you rub your hands together, and you can make a little tent. Also with peppermint, eucalyptus, and there are two. Oh, I remember the Vicks I want to get back to, but there's a blend called Raven Sarah. I will put them in a hot, steamy bowl of water and put a towel over my head and breathe that in. And that really helps open up. I will also do nasal swabbing with certain essential oils. I like, there's one called Breathe Again. There's one called Thieves. I do Egyptian Gold. And I will put a little bit of essential oil on the tip of a Q-tip. Now remember, I'm not a doctor, but I will swab up my nose because I feel that anything going up is then going to be met by the oil. So that helps me. Instead of Vicks, or maybe it's purified, but it is made from petroleum and the oils are synthetic. So I use Thieves chest rub. It smells just like Vicks, but it's a pure product. And I rub that on my chest. I also will I have a favorite for respiratory. It's called Dorado Azul. There's also Myrtle. There's so many, like just respiratory oils could be like a whole topic. And I'll just tell you one more thing. This is an inhaler. You
Right.
can also, this has a little cotton wick in it, and you can saturate that with essential oils
Right.
in here, and then you can breathe that in and carry that. Like, say you don't want to go around breathing in a bottle of essential oil, like walking around like that, you can just very discreetly breathe this.
Right. That's a cartridge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. Now, you
Yeah.
were mentioning earlier that obviously we're talking right now, we're speaking about inhaling these essential oils. You had mentioned earlier before we started the program that they can actually be used aside topical.
Yes.
Also, they could be ingested. So,
Right.
can you please describe how that is used and which ones?
Okay. So topical, I like to put oils on the bottom of my feet a lot. Oftentimes I'll put a roller, if you can see that little roller top on it.
Rollerball.
Yeah, roller ball.
Hmm.
And the reason, or I make that one, I took a Young Living bottle and they sell those roller tops, or I make my own with the roller top. And the reason I roll them on the bottom of my feet is because the skin is thick on the bottom of your feet and there are many pores. And the idea is you want to get the oils into your body, especially the oils that are going to keep you well during the wintertime. So that's one way I use them topical. Now, frankincense, I put directly on my face every morning. Just right. Some people will dilute it. Some people will put it in a natural moisturizer, but over my face and neck every day. There's an oil called Energy, and it's supposed to sound like energy. And I will roll that on my adrenal glands on my back. I will use there's an oil called Endoflex, which helps support the endocrine system. So I will roll that on my thyroid and also on my kidneys and adrenals. I'll roll oils on my spine. And sometimes, like for other people, like my daughter, sometimes her back bothers her. There's an essential oil technique called raindrop, and I will drop essential oils on her spine and massage them in. So those are some of the ways that I apply them topically. And then sometimes I'll just do one more. This is one called White Angelica. And this is a very, if you're like spiritual, a little woo woo, this is a very purifying, cleansing. If there's negative energy around you. And sometimes I'll just drop it on the top of my head and rub it in and then just brush it all around. So,
Funny that you mentioned it because I had, I think it was tea tree oil or peppermint oil for the scalp,
yes.
and I use it when I come out of the shower. I'll put some drops on, rub it into my scalp, and first of all, it smells great, but it has such a nice tingly feeling, and I feel like my head is being, awakened, and it's
Yes.
I love peppermint oil. So I've actually been using a lot of these products before speaking with you, only because I came upon them myself, and I like the smell of it, and I like the relaxation feelings that I get from it.
Yeah, that's true. So I may be putting these things on like frankincense for my face, Endoflex for my thyroid, etc. But I'm also breathing it all in. One of the ones I mentioned for respiratory that I love to put on my chest is Dorado Azul. And when I put it on, it's supposed to be for respiratory support, but I just feel like I'm floating around. So, and then the other thing, if you're dealing with stress, like here's another roller that I made. This one's holiday stress relief. And I'll roll that on the back of my neck. You can roll it on your shoulders. You never put essential oil in your ear, but you can put it all around your ear, like all around here. If
The
my,
outer
yeah,
robe.
yeah, if my ear's bothering me, I put basil. I just put basil all the way down here, a little on the outside of my ear. Sometimes I will never drop essential oil in my ear, but I'll put it in a cotton puff, and I'll put the cotton puff in my ear and let it migrate in. So, um, those are just different topical ways.
Well, also, how about this? Can you also put drops in water in a bathtub and have a nice warm soak?
Yes. So what I would suggest is not dropping it on the surface of the water. Instead, I would mix it in some Epsom salt or Dead Sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, because if you drop it on the top, it's not going to mix in because oil and water don't mix. And especially a child, but anybody, if you splash in any way, even just getting in and out of the tub, it could get in your eye.
Okay.
And I'll just mention just a little safety thing. If essential oils get in your eye, they sting a lot. The worst thing you could do is splash water in your eye because it will drive it in more. If by accident, and it seems to happen to everybody. Say you touch some peppermint and then you wipe your eye, it's going to be, whoa. Just get a fatty oil. That would be olive, avocado, coconut. Put it on a cotton puff or a cloth and just wipe from the inside out. That fatty oil will grab the little essential oil molecules and you'll feel better right away. But for the bath, yes. And in fact, I bring a diffuser. I use the essential oils to be very spa-like. So even if I'm showering, even if I'm not taking a bath, I will bring the diffuser into the bathroom with me. And the bathroom is a small room and there's steam. And you can just make your bathroom like a spa. You can make sprays with make linen sprays and spray your towels and bathrobes. And you can put the essential oils and creams. So, there's a lot that you can do. I make, I don't know if it's on my website, but a lavender oatmeal bath soak, which is really nice. And with some oatmeal and lavender and Epsom salts.
That's wonderful. Right now, I'm listening to all these ways of using these essential oils, and all I keep thinking is, these make wonderful gifts.
Yes.
We still have Christmas shopping to do.
Right.
For Mother's Day, for Valentine's Day, and these oils, they're for men and women. They're not just geared toward women.
Correct. I can't tell you how my two boys, they use them for everything. My other son was a college athlete. He does a lot of baseball coaching. There's always something that's hurting him. We do a lot, and this is nice for everybody. Especially if you don't like to take baths, I do foot soaks for him, and I put Epsom salts, and sometimes we do Melrose, which is a blend of tea tree oils and clove and rosemary, or Panaway, which is a very soothing oil. Peppermint, but we'll put those oils in with Epsom salt in just a little tub, and it's very relaxing. But we've used them a lot on his muscles, and both that son and my daughter use it for their face, if they, to prevent breakouts or to help with breakouts. I mean,
Janice,
it's amazing.
How would I know, as a person who's new to essential oils, and I'm listening to this program, how would I know which oils to get? When I go to your website, is there, instructions or suggestions depending on the mood or what it is that I'm looking for of what to get?
Yeah, so it's overwhelming. So that's what the beauty is. Like if you work with me with essential oils, like if say you went to any big box store and you bought some oils off the shelf, that's going to be the problem. You don't know where to start. But that's why I do a lot of education. So I do have my private Facebook group, but also when you're in my group, I told you about the leader that I had that taught me about the frankincense and the valor. She also has a private Facebook group. And in either of them, you could put in the search bar dandruff, dry skin, upset stomach, and people will share what oils they used for that. Then I also recommend, this is the reference book that I use. The camera's backwards, but there it goes. Oil reference book. So I use those. And then if you're in my group, you always have access to me. So, I help people and I teach classes, and I do my best to educate, but you have to start. I'm throwing so much information at you because I want everybody to learn everything, but you just have to start slowly. And maybe start with the basic oil thieves and some peppermint, lavender, lemon, and then focus on the area. Do you want this to stay healthy in the winter? Do you want this for cleaning products? Do you want this for sleep, focus, and stress? So pick your area, one area, and start there.
Now, my next question for you is, we talked about topical. We spoke about inhaling it and having it as a diffuser. How can you use these essential oils orally or ingesting them?
Okay, so the only ones that I can say that you can ingest are the Young Living, because they're the only company that I know that are legally labeled for ingestion.
Okay.
So do not just ingest any oil, and you need to know what you're doing. But first of all, I cook with them. I teach a whole class. I don't know if it's a private link or if it's public on YouTube, but I have a class on how to cook with essential oils. And you can put peppermint in brownies. I make orange cranberry cookies. You can use basil in a caprese salad. You can put oregano in sauce, so you can cook with them. That's one.
I know a lot of times too, like if you go to some of the higher end food stores, you'll see olive oil, for instance, and it has like a branch in there of rosemary or thyme to infuse the olive oil with this flavor or this scent. So can you use these types of oils in that same way?
Yes. Yes. So cooking is like a whole topic on itself. You can add orange to like a vanilla frosting. You can add orange to your pancake or waffle batter. There's parsley essential oil, there's basil essential oil, oregano, thyme, rosemary, mountain savory. So you have all your spices, cinnamon bark. So the nice thing is when you have the oil in the house, you don't have to run out and buy a whole bunch of parsley or always have fresh things in the house, because if you need just a tiny bit, you can just use a drop or a toothpick swirl of the oil. The oil is very, very concentrated. But I also ingest them for health reasons. So I buy clear capsules, and I will put certain essential oils, depending on the need, in the capsule, and I'll swallow it. Now, the oils that are labeled for ingestion are called vitality oils, and they have a white label. So, for example, this peppermint has a green label, but I didn't grab a vitality. I'm sorry, but it's the same bottle. It's a little smaller and it has a white label. The FDA says you can't label something for ingestion and topical use. So they label them separately, but the truth is it's exactly the same oil. So what I tell people is if they sell it labeled for ingestion, you can use either bottle of it. But if they don't sell it, like, for example, I was mentioning Dorado Azul, or I mentioned Raven, I mentioned Valor. You can't ingest those oils. Those are not a food product. If it's an herb, if it's a citrus oil, if it's something that's a food plant, then you can ingest it.
So that could be topical and ingested.
Right, right.
So if you GNC, they do. A friend of mine told me if you go to GNC, they actually sell, basil oil in capsules. That if you have sort of a stomach ailment, that you could take. But the question then becomes: are those real essential oils, or again, are they mislabeled?
Right, because I noticed so many TV commercials where they're selling some kind of product and they say essential oil infused. But if you know the whole story, this is what happens. There are farmers, let's say they're growing lavender. They'll spray that farm with pesticides. They want to get a big, quick, hardy crop.
Right.
They'll distill the oils, probably with solvents and not just steam. They'll put it in a big barrel, and they'll sell it to these big companies that are making essential oil infused products. But how pure is it? Because then they're adding their fragrance, or they'll say it's lavender and it's really lavendin. There's just so much that you really need to know. So yeah. Okay. So I hope that I mean, we could go on and on, but I know we need to end it soon.
Did you lose me?
I can still hear you.
Oh, perfect.
We're toward the end.
Thank you. But before we end our show with you today, first of all, I want you to know that you are welcome back, because like you said, there is just so much to speak about. I would really love the whole next time that we speak just to gear it more toward, like you said, cooking with the essential oils. So what I would love for you to do right now, for everybody, please, again, give everybody your website and how to contact you, because this is fascinating. And as much as I want to tune into all your other programs, I actually want to make some purchases and speak with you again as well.
Oh, thank you.
So,
well, my website is homehealthandspirit.com, and you can, all my social media and email is linked to that.
And as we discussed earlier, there are so many wonderful products and essential oils on Janice's website, and it's Home, Health, and Spirit. Please go to check her out. Follow her on Instagram, Facebook. Go to her YouTube channel. And there is just such a wealth of information from Janice that I'm excited to go to your website right after this, because I like having clean, fresh scents in my home. I'm not one for, the Glade sprays or the plugins, because again, first of all, I know that a lot of those plugins could be faulty and cause house fires. As much as I love having candles lit, I don't want to leave a room and leave a candle unattended, because I have a very curious cat who has singed his whiskers now and then because he gets too close to the flame. So I'm very much for wanting to keep my home smelling beautifully and fresh in all the rooms, and I want to do it in a safer way. So if doing it with your diffusers and these essential oils is the way to go, then I'm going to be one of your first customers.
Oh, thank you. And I'll help you and I'll teach you everything.
Please, I look forward to that. I want to thank you for joining us today. Anthony, thank you as well. Janice, you are welcome back anytime.
Thank you,
And
Pamela.
I want to wish everybody happy holidays, happy Hanukkah. Of course, Christmas is coming. We're a week away from Christmas. Please go to Janice's site and have your home smelling beautiful, wonderful, and fresh, and check out all her products. And thank you for joining us. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
This broadcast is produced by Griffo Productions.